So, guess what? It is now time for a resume review. Let's do it. Alrighty. So, this is someone from our Discord community, brand new member this week. Welcome. Welcome, Angela. And she asked if someone could look at it, and I obviously asked permission to put it on the stream because I wanted to make sure I had her permission. And yeah, we're going to review this, give her some feedback, hopefully help her nail down a job. I can't wait to see that. Thanks, Mike. I got a job message. We're going to go through this systematically. We get about 30 minutes, so lots and lots of time to look at stuff here, and we're going to help out. So one of the things I also want to point out is I am putting together kind of a starter pack of sorts to help people get that profile, get their LinkedIn set up, get their resume straight, all those things that you need to do to be ready and get your brand straight so you can get a job. Branding is huge. It's not just for content, folks. Branding is all about how people find you, what people think about you whenever they come across you on the internet. So it's basically a big billboard that's just screaming, hey, I'm cool, hire me, I'm going to be a good member of your team. So that's your brand, okay? So all that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. All that will be dropped, and I will also be dropping a new free course on YouTube for getting you ready for that first SOC role. All right, enough of that, right? Enough of that. Let's read this. So the first thing that catches my eye is that she has a table here. It looks like right here. If this is a table, one of the things you really do not want to be doing is adding any funky formatting to the back. The reason why is that it screws up resume parsers, which is not good. Anything that gets gunked up on the back end when software reads it or when AI reads it is not in your favor. So any absolute formatting changes or any formatting whatsoever, so multiple columns, tables, anything like that, get rid of it. You want a single column. You don't want any formatting. It's causing chaos. And I know it helps you organize. I know it makes things look better, but we're really playing for three audiences when we're building resumes. One, when we submit it, it's got to be read the way you intend it to be read by the machines. If it doesn't make its way to the machines, it's not going to get to a human. When the human reads it, this is where it needs to look good enough that it's not going to be ugly to a human. And typically, any formatting stuff like this is fine. Really, what is going to catch the eye of a human that's bad is stuff like misspellings, bad grammar, just really bad inconsistencies in your resume. Things like that will stand out to humans. So don't worry about making your resume like pretty or, just a lot of people like adding all of these fun fonts. Don't do it. Like hers is basic here. Hers is okay in terms of formatting. Maybe add a little bit more spacing between some of these job titles. But besides that, the formatting isn't that bad. Plain is okay. My point here is plain is okay for you folks. Plain is okay. Just because it doesn't look amazing to you, right, doesn't mean it's bad. Make your profile look good, right? A human's going to look at your profile, make that look good. But your resume needs to be kind of in the middle, both for machines and humans, okay? All right, so this is something I would change. It'd be great if people sent these in like a doc version, and then I could improve them on the fly and then send it out to people. That's probably a good idea. What do y'all think about that? Okay, so let's read the profile here. Motivated SOC analyst candidate with a bachelor's degree in information security and have the following: CompTIA Security Plus, Pentest Plus, Network Plus, and hands-on experience through internships and TryHackMe SOC Level 1 and 2 training. Knowledgeable in SIEM, log analysis, network traffic inspection, vulnerability enumeration, alert triage, and incident response workflows via internships and virtual labs. Eager to monitor alerts, investigate anomalies, and reduce false positives and support 24/7 operations in fast-paced SOC role. Okay, So let's talk about a few things here. So one thing I do like is that she is kind of pointing to where she got the experience from. So that's a good thing. That's a positive. Hey, I got this experience through labs, or I got this experience through an internship. Great. The other thing she has here is that she's putting like her best marketable things up top here, like her certifications. She has a ton. She's got Sec Plus, Pentest Plus, Network Plus, and then she also has TryHackMe level 1 and level 2. So looks great on paper. This looks great to me. Now, does this knock me off my socks? No. I think that last sentence isn't that great, right? So one thing to keep in mind whenever you do summaries. So if we do a summary, this is your elevator pitch to someone else. You really got to spend time and nail this elevator pitch. Otherwise, they may not read the rest of your resume. So I would take more time to make this sound really good. The other thing that you need to pay attention to with these profiles or summaries or whatever you title them is that they need to be specific to the job you're applying for. So I'm going to take this as a general resume, but if you were to put this in at a specific job, you need to be putting some of that similar language, like literally lifting that language from the job listing and putting it in here if you have it. Okay? If you don't put it in here, you're lying. They're going to figure it out real quick. But if you do have that, put it in here, because that's probably what they're looking for quickly is, do they have these things? That's probably what the ATS system and AI is looking for, is specific keywords. So don't be shy about putting them in here all over the place if you have them. Again, that is the key. Do you have them? I've seen some resumes last year and earlier this year where they just loaded it up, and then I started asking them about their resume, where they're like, oh, I have all this SIM experience, and they're like, no, actually I've never touched it, but my recruiter told me to put it in here. And I'm like, sheesh, come on, people. But anyways, yeah, spend some time here. And I encourage everyone to spend extra time with your profile, with your summary. Make it sound good. Make it sound like an elevator. Pitch it to people you don't know. Does this sound impressive? Does this sound like me? And it's a chance for you to be a little fun, to show a little bit of your character, a little bit of who you are to the person reading this. So do some work there. Your first sentence is pretty good. Your second sentence is pretty good, I would say. That last sentence, do some work there. I don't think that really helps you, because what you're trying to convey is, what do you bring to the team? You're eager to do this stuff, so are you bringing eagerness, or are you actually bringing skills, right? So you're trying to convey that you can do the work. That's what you're trying to convey here. All right, technical skills. So we already talked about, you want to take it out of the box. Things to look at here. So this is where you can do a lot of keyword stuffing, is in the skills sections. And again, it needs to be relevant. You don't, like, some of this stuff isn't particularly useful. I would, again, orient your skills to whatever the job listing is looking for. You might see NIST in there. You're probably not going to see CVE or CWE management. You're probably not going to see CVSS scoring. Like, no one cares about that. If they have specific NIST versions, put it in there. But be careful. If you aren't super familiar with these things and you get asked questions, you're going to be deer in the headlights, and they are definitely going to figure out you really don't know these really well. So be careful what you put in here. Now, let's see. I would also put some hard skills in here if you have them. So you have things like threat detection, alert triage, incident response, false positive reduction. They're not actually major things that people would look for, I would say. And then some of it isn't formatted well. So looking at this here, it looks like some stuff is bolded, some isn't, and it may just be the view here. Either way, yeah, I mean, I would really orient this to the job listing specifically. Make this stuff make sense with the job listing. So if they say something about web attacks, put OWASP top 10, but use their language. I cannot stress enough how important it is to use the job listings language in here. Don't assume that they're making the connection between the term in the words or the ask in the job listing. They're not doing that. What they're doing is looking for that thing in your job listing if it's being done by an ATS system or AI, okay? If it's being read by a recruiter, maybe if they know enough about the subject matter, but don't ever count on it. They're not subject matter experts, they're people finders. So, it may make sense once it gets to the hiring manager, but it has so many levels to go through before the resume gets in their hand. So don't automatically filter yourself out by assuming people know what you're talking about here, okay? That is my warning to everyone. Do not assume they know what you're talking about. I did it early in my career, and I catch myself still doing it. Don't assume they know what you're talking about. Be very, very specific. So let's pull up like SOC analyst. Let's see, junior SOC analyst role. And what I want to point out here is one more thing I want to talk about before we look at this role. You have a lot of stuff in here. So if you're looking for a SOC role, you have a lot of stuff in here that is not applicable to a SOC analyst. Like, I don't care if you know NIST as a SOC analyst. I don't care. If you're GRC, good, throw it in there. I don't care if you do vulnerability remediation. That's not your job. I don't care that you know how to do firewall configurations. That's not your job. Bash scripting, okay. PowerShell, okay. CVSS scoring, not applicable. So the other thing you need to do is frame this for the actual job you're looking for, which is in line with edit it for the job listing itself, right? I think just about every resume I've looked at on this stream, people are keyword stuffing stuff that's not applicable to the job they're applying for. These are not a ton of SOC stuff. They're not. I should be seeing a lot of elastic stuff. Like, I should be seeing SIEMs. I should be seeing EDRs. I should be seeing types of logs, maybe. Things that are specific to an analyst. Velociraptor, EDRs, whatever. That's what I should be seeing here. Not stuff related to GRC, not stuff related to vulnerability management, not stuff related to system administration, network administration, any of that. I don't care as a hiring manager in the SOC. I am hiring you to be able to investigate stuff, not to be able to fix stuff, to investigate stuff. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's look at a job real quick so we can take this into account, right? Like, take this job and then refocus and look at the resume. So this is the things, right? Proficiency with Microsoft Sentinel, Palo Alto, Prisma Cloud. So they're looking for these probably in the resume. Experience with SIEMs, firewalls, EDRs, cloud security tools. These are things you want to put in there. And again, every job's going to be different. So knowledge of threat intelligence, adversary techniques. Nowhere in here is there vulnerability management. Zero. Nowhere in here is NIST. So for this job, all that junk has to be removed. They do have Python. They do have PowerShell, Bash. So this is what I mean, right? You're just wasting space and taking space away from things that are going to help give you a higher stature in their eyes if you're flooding it with stuff that doesn't matter. And it's also taking away, right? It's distracting away from things that matter to the actual hiring manager. So just wanted to point that out. Let's look at one more really quick. Let's see. View, show full job description. I want to see the full one. So we're going in here. This is telling you what it is, but we're looking for the important section that says what we're looking for. So here we go. Ability to investigate in evaluate network traffic. I think you had something to that effect. If you didn't have Wireshark, you should definitely be putting Wireshark in there. 2 years intrusion detection analytics, so IDS systems. I would put it exactly the way it says. If you haven't done, you should have Splunk. If you've done SOC Analyst 1 and 2, you should have also done Snort. That should go in there. So these are things you should be talking about, right? You should be talking about, I can do PCAP analysis. I can look at web server logs. Again, shifting the focus to things that matter to them, right? If it's like you're buying a new phone, right? And if the marketing firm is talking about things that you don't care about, like look at how fast it is, look at this next generation CPU, this thing is super fast, look at the graphics on this thing, look at this accounting software that you can load up on here. If you don't care about any of that stuff, it's not winning you over. But if you're saying, hey, look at this new phone, look at how good the pictures are that you can take, look at how you can install apps super easy, how you can connect with your family really easy, look at FaceTime, you can hop on video chat, right? They're marketing the traits to the people that they want to attract. And you need to do the same thing. You're marketing yourself. So you need to market your skills that they care about and get rid of the noise, okay? This is that branding thing again, right? Remember we were talking about branding a second ago? You need to market yourself because that's what you're doing. You're just marketing yourself and your skills here. So with that being said, and this is a problem that I see a lot with folks coming out of Login Pacific, is that you're doing all these labs that no one cares about in a SOC. I would focus on labs that people actually care about, like the STIG stuff, vulnerability management. Replace it with a lab that actually matters. And you're listing this as experience. Don't do that. Don't list because it's not a real internship. Don't list it in the experience section. You're going to probably raise some eyebrows and be like, this isn't really experience with other people. That's how I feel looking at it as a hiring manager. So don't do that. But it should go under your lab section. I would definitely put it there and talk about the labs you're doing. Security operations. This one does count. Threat hunting with EDR, name your EDR. I would put EDR in there. Detecting IOCs from brute force attacks, data exfiltration, ransomware. Okay. Design, tested, publish advanced threat hunting scenarios. I would talk about how. How did you do this? What did you utilize to publish that? Were you doing that in the SIEM or the EDR? This is also a good case where if you have a profile, providing a link somewhere in your resume for that, and you may have that in there, providing a profile link to it where you can share your hunt queries, interesting stuff. That is a topic I'll be covering again soon. I'll have a template for folks to use and actually turn these lab-focused resumes or portfolios into something that's really going to attract folks and show off the skills you're learning. A lot of them that I've seen just look like you copied and pasted a bunch of stuff, which isn't that attractive. So we'll flip that on its head and make it better. Custom detection rules, that's something you can put in your profile as well. Microsoft Defender for endpoint, so you name the tool, great. Reduce brute force incidents by 50% by implementing inbound NSG firewall rules. So I don't really like this bullet because it doesn't really make sense because this is a lab environment. So you didn't really reduce brute force incidents per se, but you could talk about the type of rule that you did. Yep, I think that's all I'll say about that one. Create a Microsoft Sentinel dashboard. So Microsoft Sentinel, another good tool you got your hands on. The monitor, login failures, and malicious traffic using threat intelligence. So this would be something else you could put in your portfolio, like talk about your logic you use for dashboards and how you built them. Works. Experience with KQL, similar to SQL. I would say that you don't have to put this similar to SQL and SPL. KQL is pretty well known now, and which was used to query logs within SIEM and EDR platform. Okay. Just shows a little bit that you've done some querying. I would say I would beef that one up a little bit more because it's kind of like, which I get because it's your last bullet too. And I say beef it up and show off your query skills because that is by far the hardest thing to teach analysts is how to query, how to utilize these tools. So if you can show off that you can do this really well, you're going to be a much better candidate than most people. Most people are really bad. And so the query is one piece of it, but also understanding what you're looking for in logs. So having a good understanding of logs is the other piece of that puzzle. So do you know what to look for in these logs, what logs to go for? And to look for, and then 2, do you know how to craft a query that's going to find those things in those logs? So 2 pieces. If you can demonstrate those well in here, you're doing really well. All right, so the next piece is job history. So your first actual experience is you worked at IT support, which is fine. If you have any things related to security that you can put in here, definitely do that. I know it's pretty tough, but do it if you can. So we got analyze, resolve, system network issues, not particularly applicable. Implemented basic security measures, including secure configurations, access controls, network segmentation. Maybe. Monitor network connectivity, identify device communication inconsistencies, documented technical issues in ticketing style. Not necessarily applicable. You could orient that one to be more applicable and talk more towards doing network-focused analysis in the SOC. Last bullet here, communicated technical findings and remediation recommendations to non-technical clients. That's a soft skill. So it could be something you'd want to put in there. I'm not mad at that. Last thing here is, so I would take this whole section out, put it into a training section. I feel, and I think this is the 4th or 5th resume I've seen from Login Pacific. It's not a real internship. It is a lab. And I don't want you to piss off a hiring manager by misrepresenting what it is. I know he's telling you guys it's an internship. It's not really a real work experience. It is a lab environment. So be very careful. I mean, if you still feel like it should be in here and you can make a good case, go for it. But I think it's a very slippery slope, and I think it's a very, very tough argument to make that this is job experience. Okay. So be very careful there. The other thing I would have done, and the reason why you may not have done it is because you might not have had enough space. No, you had enough space, but the spacing here, it's not consistent. Make your spacing consistent. So you just need a line break here, looks like. And this is a smart move here as well, where you didn't put anything for valet attendant. Smart move. If the role's not applicable, don't put anything in there, just list it. You don't want to have gaps in your resume, but you also don't want to waste space for something that's not applicable. I do this actually for my military service on my resume. I left it blank. I just put my years. None of it's applicable, right? I just got shot at, all right? There's nothing applicable about it to what I do today. So I leave it off. Projects, we almost missed this part. So SOC level 2 pathway, good, conducted hunt investigations, blah, 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 blah. I would say TryHackMe, SOC level 2 and SOC level 1 to me means way more than your Login Pacific work that you've done here. I can tell you probably learned a lot more that's applicable to a SOC in those courses, more than likely. And just really because it's more directly applicable. Let's see what else you have in here. And you're doing a lot calling out what you've done, which is perfect. Again, lean into what the different job listings are asking for. And it's going to help you make this more applicable to the roles you're applying for. Yeah, so SOC level 1, SOC level 2 are very, very good. And I'm sure you learned a ton in there if you did it intentionally, right? There's a difference between doing something and doing something intentionally. If you do it intentionally, you're learning a lot more, and it's a lot more usable skills. Like you've played with the ideas, You've gotten creative with it, so it's a lot better for you. Yeah, so this is all good stuff. These TryHackMe ones, and then vulnerability scanning and enumeration. I don't know if this is part of this or not. I can't really tell. I would change the way you do these headings if it's not part of SOC level 1. Name the, I guess you would just add spacing. So maybe you're saying that this is a skill set that you gained. So maybe redoing how you're listing your training so it's obvious. Yeah, I'm trying to think how I would have you organize this so it makes more sense for the reader, because you have very specific pathways you completed, then you have specific subject areas that you worked. And I would list in here maybe the labs that you did for these so that it's more obvious. Because typically when you state something in a resume, you want to have some sort of evidence that supports that claim, because otherwise people can just claim whatever they want and it's not necessarily true. So you want to have evidence. So maybe list the rooms after it, perhaps. Yeah, maybe list the rooms after it. I'm trying to think. This will be something I'll play with when I do the resume template for folks. I'll play with the idea of how do we want to convey this in a way that makes sense. So I'll keep this as a reference to make sure whatever we do takes a similar circumstance into account as well. But these are good stuff. Vulnerability scanning and enumeration. So just the in-map scanning, I think, is useful for folks understanding what port scanning is in general. I don't really care about the vulnerability scanning piece, but it's good to know that it exists. Excuse me, I know you did that in Login Specific as well. It's good to know what vulnerabilities are, because sometimes you'll have, say, a new exploit, an O-day that's dropped, and you need to figure out how exposed you are as an organization. Understanding that, understanding where to go, and how to look for systems that have that issue. That is a good skill. You won't be doing the vulnerability scanning yourself, but understanding where to get that data and how to search the data, that's the important thing. Web application security testing, that's a good one to understand. So this is that offensive stuff I was talking about this show. It's good to understand the offensive stuff because it makes you a much, much better defender. Let's see, exploitation and defense lab. These are two opposing ideas, I think. Leverage Metasploit to isolate in isolated environments to simulate exploitation techniques. Apply defensive monitoring and logging strategies to detect and respond to simulated threats. So I think this is a really weak section, this last one. You could do a lot more, maybe even put offensive security together in one area. So like maybe pen testing, like have a pen testing category where you're saying, hey, I know how to do nmap scans. Hey, I know how to use Meterpreter. Hey, I know how to use Burp Suite. Here are the other types of attacks I've done. I've done web application attacks. I've executed exploits. I've done shells. Like talk through the techniques that you've done. That would probably be more beneficial than what you're doing in this last bullet. And it may help you kind of bring those home together a little bit better. Let's see what else we have here. We have a BS in cybersecurity assurance from Western Governors, relevant coursework. Then we have all her certifications, ITIL, LPI, Linux Essentials. Oh, we got Linux one, cool. Security operations training, TryHackMe, level 1, level 2. This isn't bad. I would honestly move... Well, I guess you already did it up here. I was going to say, for folks who are brand new to cybersecurity, it is typically better to put all the stuff that is applicable to the job up at the top. So maybe the order would be profile, technical skills, certifications, education, then experience. And that's simply because you don't have a ton of experience. Most of it isn't even relevant. So it's kind of, I say it's like the newspapers, right? They put the most important things up first. You don't want to bury the lead, to use their phrasing. You want to keep the lead at the top. And that would probably help out. So I guess in summary, I would make this last sentence a lot stronger. And if you could, even take another look, spend an hour reworking your profile. This is your elevator pitch. Think of it like that. And then read it to several people and see what they think about it. If you have a teacher, ask your professor, what do you think about this? I would modify your technical skills for each job that you're applying for. You can do that pretty easily with AI. I would move your login Pacific, put it into training because it's misleading. It's not real work experience. It's not a true internship. It's just lab time. Put it into training. IT support, that's fine. And also these labs, I would remove like this vulnerability management one. That's not applicable to the SOC. Security operations is, I would fine tune it again for these specific jobs. So tune it to the job you're looking at. Look at your spacing. So be careful with your spacing. Make sure all the spacing is consistent. And I almost forgot, get rid of this table. You don't want a table in here. You want a single column. Make sure your spacing looks good. Otherwise, it may get chewed up by ATS systems. And other than that, maybe consider putting this into like a single pen testing skills and then listing the types of TryHackMe challenges you've done, maybe the pathways, maybe do a junior pen tester one. Knock that out, put that in here as well. These are all going to help you. I think the TryHackMe SOC Level 1, SOC Level 2 pathways are much more powerful than your Login Pacific experience that you've listed. So definitely would put those up at the top. Other than that, you'll be in really good shape. If you get all that stuff straight, you'll be in really, really good shape. So if you get this thing improved, Angela, feel free to reach out, show me what you're looking at. And if you have a sample job that you want to show me and say, hey, I'm designing this resume for this specific job, and I just want to make sure I'm doing what you're advising. Does this line up with what you're suggesting? That is what I would recommend you do, and I'd be happy to help you out. So best of luck, Angela. Feel free, if you have a resume, you want me to look at it, join the community, drop it in the community, or email it to me, and I will bring it up on one of these live streams for you.